Hey y'all, this is AL Thing Madonna. So this is the back of my shirt, and it's like, why is this the back of the shirt? Like, this don't make no sense. Because once I show y'all the front, y'all gonna be like, what? Okay, y'all, so to me, you wouldn't think that this would be the front of this shirt, given that that is all what's on the back. But I just had to show y'all real quick, because I was just like, and I got on a little lazy bra because, like, if I actually had these things sitting, y'all would not be able to pay attention to this recap review. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into that. And this is the recap review for Delilah. So Delilah came back, and the most has already gone down, and it is just starting the episode right now. So it started where it left off, and Delilah got the call from Leah, and she went over to her place. Thank goodness she didn't get kidnapped or killed, because that's what I thought was about to happen, because they killing people left and right on here. You know, any information, you finna kill yourself or they gonna kill you. You gonna come up missing in some sort of way. So anyway, she went over there. Her place had been ransacked, and she is like upset because they just sat up there. They took the laptop and they took her phone. That's literally all they did. They went through the house, just tearing up everything, looking for everything. And then when she walked in, the last thing they needed was the cell phone. So that's all they took. So anyway, child, Leah is talking to her, talking to Delilah, and she's just like, that's all they took, and this is crazy. And, she lets Delilah know that she met up with Tamara. Well, was supposed to meet up with Tamara. She went across town to meet up with her. She never met up with her. And then she gonna call her when she on her way back to the house, talking about, oh, well, I got caught up with work, so I couldn't meet up with you, which don't make no sense. Because it's like, girl, this big old case right here, you doing the most. You doing the most with this case, and you can't even meet up with the person. Delilah been meeting up with this girl left and right. Her people done seen her, like, everybody that met up with her but you. Y'all the ones that want to, shame her, but you can't even meet up with her. Like, that ain't making sense to me. So, old girl was even like, she came up with some kind of, random excuse as to why she could meet up with her, which didn't make no sense, because it's like, girl, you knew what time y'all was supposed to meet. You could have said something earlier. Trying to make it seem like she got caught up at work. But anyway, so when she got back to the house, the person was in there doing what they was doing, and then they took the phone out of her hand. And so Delilah is talking to the police officers, and she said, you need to check that corporation, because the only things that were missing were the things that they had been pressuring her to get. And you know what I'm saying? She's basically hounding the police officers. And it's like, girl, I mean, I understand that you have a really strong inkling as to what is going on and who has done these things, but the police officers are going to be like, this ain't your jurisdiction. You can't tell us what to do. And who are you? And that is literally what happened. And they were like, yeah, since you are a lawyer, I'm pretty sure you know how these warrants go. So yeah. Because she really was like, well, go ask the neighbors. I'm pretty sure they saw who was outside, who was sitting outside and doing all this other stuff. Man, you can't sit up here and try to tell these people what to do. So anyway, she tired of her spirit. And so she ends up calling Tamara, her friend. And so she actually was at the house. Her man just came in, I guess, from a jog or working out or something. And he hopped in the shower. And so Delilah called her. She found her phone and see that it's Delilah. So she looking like, but answer the phone. So she answered the phone and was like, what, or whatever. And so she was like, are you behind this? She trying to figure out what she's talking about. She told her everything that went down. Well, she told her that she needed to meet up with her, basically. And that she was like, well, is he up there with you? And she was like, yeah. She was like, well, meet me in the lobby. So she met her downstairs in her lobby and told her what popped off. She's trying to make it seem like she don't know what's going on. But at the same time, she's like, look, why do you think that we had something to do with that? Like, that don't mean that we had something to do with that. And, it kind of got heated to the point where Tamara was like, are we still meeting, in a few days for our lunch date? Because they are supposed to still be, doing what they're doing in the wedding party or whatever. Because she's supposed to be her bridesmaid. And so she was like, yeah, or whatever. And then she walked off. So I was like, Lord, y'all is all doing the most. But tell me why the dummy Nate that sat up there and called his wife talking about, oh, but can you come by tomorrow or whatever day? And, you know, maybe we can have a little dinner and all this other stuff. I'm like, don't you know she is forever banged up with Andre? Like, I don't understand what kind of penis he is serving her, but she's there in your house with this man banged up right now. And he gonna end the conversation with "I love you," and she was like, "Bye," or hung up the phone or whatever, okay, or whatever it was, and turned over and was right there with Andre, banged up in the bed. What does Andre do? What is going on? Every time we see him, he at the house. Is he a drug dealer, or is he just living off of the little money that he get? Meaning the husband that's paying for that house. I don't understand. I'm tired. And I'm just like, you sitting up here basically begging for attention and to be seen and spend time with your wife who ain't never been up there to see you since you got home from your accident. She ain't been up to the VA to say, hey, bye. She ain't been to see the child. She ain't did nothing. I don't understand. You need to just cut ties with this heifer. Tell her to relinquish her parental rights and be all the way done with this heifer. Get a divorce, all of that. Divorce decree need to be in hand. Be done. So when you really have your glow up, the heifer gonna come sniffing around and be like, girl, I ain't got nothing for you. That's what you should do. But I don't know what's wrong with him. It might just be residual emotional issues surrounding the fact that he has been hurt right now. And, you know, he still is going to need therapy and all this other stuff. He's still in the wheelchair. So I'm like, I understand all that, but I'm going to need for you to get a backbone and be done with this heifer, because obviously she don't respect you and she don't care about your child. So what's the point of hanging on to a raggedy heifer? Delilah was desperate, and so she rolled up on her daddy at his house while he was outside raking leaves and basically told him, I'm going to need for you to get at least one police officer in all of Charlotte who is going to actually do their job when it pertains to this case. And, you know, of course, he had already heard about what went down, because earlier in the episode, when she approached those police officers, one of them said, and who are you? Who you think you're supposed to be? And she said, Delilah Connolly. And as soon as she said that last name, it brought all types of fear into these people's hearts, because her daddy has some power behind his name, and everybody know that they need to fear him in some respect. So yeah, she went over there and nicely asked him, I'm gonna need you to do this. Thank you very much. And he was like, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if I can help you. So she was like, okay, well, she basically put a fire up under him and was like, well, I'm gonna need for you to know that this stuff is directly related to Nate's accident. And so he was like, of course, you know, do you have any proof of that? And she showed him the files. And so he was like, okay, well, these happen to be files that the wife of the man who, you know, who committed suicide are these files that he had been harboring? Like, if they are, you need to tell the wife that she need to wise up and hand them over and all this other stuff. But in my mind, I'm just like, sir, I'm going to need for you to understand that these people are the reason why your son is in a wheelchair right now. He could have died. This man could have died. And, you know what I'm saying, as far as the signatures and the dates and all that stuff go that's on the paperwork, because y'all already remember that the soldiers would get one thing and something else was filed, and it would just say a completely different reason that the accidents happened. Accidents. And when she asked about Rick Pattengale or whatever his name is, you know, of course it looks as if he's gone AWOL and went missing and all this. And he was just like, you know, sometimes when stuff like this happen, it might seem like that. It just is what it is. And I'm just like, well, it's mighty convenient, but okay. So anyway, later on, she's at the house playing gin or whatever with Mason. Y'all know the dude who be doing all this recon and all this stuff for her. And you can tell they've had some sort of a relationship in the past. And so they playing, and she's telling him what has happened that day, and then she ends up winning. And so he was like, okay, so this was your strategy all along. And she was like, you know, it just is what it is. I can play. So he ends up leaving, and while he's leaving, he tells her that he has tickets, and I think it's to like a basketball game or something, because she really likes what are they called? The Charlotte Nets or something? I don't remember what them people call, because I don't watch that. I don't watch that particular type of sport. I don't watch basketball at all, but I definitely was not watching the Charlotte Nets. I just wasn't. I ain't no shade. I'm just saying I wasn't. And so, she was just like, good night, Mason. And it's like you took everything in her, because it's like, okay, I'm guessing she don't want to rekindle nothing. She don't want him to get the wrong idea, and I'm glad. And maybe she is thinking of old boy. Y'all know the guy that Tamara and her man hooked her up with. There seems to be a little bit of chemistry there. So yeah, I don't know. It could be a combination of the two, but she basically, declined without even saying no. So, first of all, before I even finish this, this part, I just got, because I don't want to forget. So the heifer, who is the receptionist or whatever she is, this heifer be getting real disrespectful. I would have had to backhand her by now. So Tamara came, and she's going to like Fred Osborne's office, or whoever office it is that she worked for. And she's sitting in there. And so she was like, help me free in a moment. Like with an attitude. I would have been like, I probably would have had to cuss out real quick. I probably would have blacked out and cussed out and didn't even realize I did it. Because it's like she stayed trying her. Like she always saying something sideways, or always looking some kind of crazy way. And I'm like, girl, if you don't go somewhere and sit down, like you would not be getting the check that you get if it wasn't for me and all this business that I be bringing this way. Like she is very, 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 I had the word, but I can't even think of it. But anyway, she the reason why all these clients be coming through the way they come through, because they be wanting her, and she's the one who actually be coming through with a lot of these results that the company gets. So it's like, girl, please know your place and go somewhere and sit down. Like, I can't. You got to stop. But I'll be back. Tamara met up with one of the partners, which I think that it was the son, Fred Jr. or whatever. Fred Osborne Jr., I think. If not, it was just one of them other people. But yeah, he talking about he ain't never heard of none of this stuff that's going on, because of course she told him what she found out about Leah's apartment getting ransacked and all of that. And we and Senior ended up calling and saying that he wanted to see him. So I was like, okay. But of course Tamara wants to know that they had nothing to do with that, because she was on the verge of settling. So it's like, okay, I need to know, because, yeah, she was about to settle. Child, Nate is at the place and, doing things for himself. And I really hope that my mind is all the way wrong on this. But there was this big, tall dude in there, like buff, that was trying to help him. And I'm like, please tell me that wasn't Andre. I really feel like I'm just imagining that was Andre. It was just a big black man. Ain't no way that was Andre trying to help him. But anyway, he got excited, and he was like, yeah, my wife coming to see me later on today. And he was like, oh, okay, I like to hear that. Okay, that sounds good. And, he offered to help him. And he was like, no, when I get home, I need to be able to do this stuff on my own. And he's getting better with transferring himself from the chair to the bed and all this other stuff. So, he got himself dressed. So old boy left, and I'm just like, that heifer is not coming. So I don't know why. I'm not understanding why is it that he can't even hear in her voice the I'm just doing this so I don't get fined tone that she gives him. Because she ain't coming. She ain't came to nothing else. What makes you think she gonna show up now? I don't understand the stupidity. I forgot to mention earlier in the episode that Delilah's ex-husband was baited up with the heifer who he'd been screwing, for the last 10 years. That was a student of his. And, she's stupid, but y'all already know that. And so she woke up, and like one of her friends had texted her or called her to see, when she would be available to go and look for some place. Because he done already told her that if things are not aligned the way he thinks they need to be, because she has not met his kids and all this other stuff, then, he ain't trying to move forward with her like that and make no major move with her moving in. So, of course, he was like, oh, okay, who was that? And so she said who it was. And you could tell she got upset when he was like, oh, okay. And that was it. It wasn't no, well, dang, you don't need to, keep searching for nothing. You can move in here. Like, she desperately wants him to say, you can move in with me. He ain't saying it. He ain't gonna say it. I don't know if he gonna ever say it, but he definitely ain't saying it right now because he is very intentional with how he moves. So anyway, she didn't got in her feelings and was like, you know what? Oh, okay. So he was like, where you going? Why you going, leaving so quick? And she was like, I just told you that I got to look at places with my friend. And so she was just like, you know what? I'm not having this conversation with you, and basically ended things. He over here trying to beg her and all this other stuff. But I'm just like, let that heifer go and be done. Like, go somewhere and sit down. Like, you shouldn't have to sit up there and fight with somebody about your convictions. My thing is, if I don't want to rock the boat right now, I'm not going to rock it. And if you worth rocking the boat over, then I would get it to rocking. Like, ain't nobody got time. Like, these people be doing the most. These people be doing the most. And I understand that you might want him a little bit more than he wants you, apparently. But you can't make somebody do what they don't want to do. You can't. You might want them to be faithful. You might want them to do right by you. But unless that's something that they want to do, it ain't going to happen. No matter how you try to poke and prod and make it happen. So anyway, Tamara and Delilah end up meeting up for their little lunch date where they were discussing the wedding, and they made small talk. This heifer has been able to secure a location that she wants for the wedding. It's going to be Easter weekend. And so Delilah is like, okay, how are you able to secure that? And so she was like, well, do you promise not to, judge me? And so she was like, I'm not going to judge you. So basically, that whoever owns that property, they've been trying to have dealings with property somewhere else or something like that. And in order for them to procure it, she was able to pull some strings and get her fiance to work some magic or whatever. So it seemed like Delilah was kind of judging her without even saying nothing or whatever. So it is what it is. But you could tell how thick the air was. So ultimately, things went a little sideways. Tamara ended up getting up, walking out, and I'm just like, whatever. I'm tired of both of y'all at this point. So anyway, Delilah's brother Nate sat up here, and he done got ready for the little dinner date with the heifer. She actually showed up. She done surprised me, but I'm again, she only did it, in my opinion, so she don't get fined. I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's literally how she looked the whole time. I feel like she showed up because she was like, look, let me, like, I feel like she told Andre, let me go see this boy for about 30 minutes or so that he'll keep paying these bills in this house, because you ain't got no job. I don't think he got no job. Like, I'm so tired. That whole situation is just ignorant. It's so ignorant. So anyway, she came. He over here talking to her about, oh, I want to keep my promise and take you to Niagara Falls. And she got happy for a second. That was like the only happy moment I ever saw her have in relation to him. But when he wanted to talk serious and was like, I still love you, and I don't want to make this work, and I want to still keep my promise to you by taking you to Niagara Falls. And so she looking like, okay, is this even possible, given your condition? And so he looked into it, and then he said something about going out on a boat and doing all this other stuff and how it still should be possible. And so he was like, all I'm asking you to do is to, let me honor that, and then whatever happens after that, it'll just happen. And so this heifer talking about, I don't even know if I can do that. He looking like, what you mean? All I'm doing is asking you to say that you'll think about it. This heifer talking about she don't even think she could think about it. Like, what you see in this heifer? So anyway, Gordon, who is Delilah's ex-husband, that came over because he did call her when she was on her way to go meet up with Tamara to ask her if they could meet up later on. And, he didn't disclose why, but he did pop up at the house. And she told him, like, come at whatever time. And so she was like, well, I've been trying to figure out what you might want, but I can't think of nothing. So he was like, well, since I'm here, can I at least go say hey to the kids real quick? He went and did that. And before he was about to head back downstairs to link up with her, the daughter came out of her room and wanted to speak to him for a minute. So anyway, he ended up going back downstairs to talk to her. Eventually, he says, me and Katia have been back together for the last year. And Delilah was like, do her parents know? I was like, oh God, somebody please. Like, Delilah be reading. But, you know, that was his student. Like, when they got together, that was his student. And I'm just like, sir, you done did the most. You lost your family. You lost everything. Literally, he literally lost everything. When the people found out that he was dealing with the child, the girl, even though she is of legal age, they found out that he was screwing a student. They fired him. Sir, you lost your job behind this random heifer. Come on now. And Delilah read him about it, was like, this is why you're in the predicament that you're in now. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I would need for you to understand that my kids will never set foot in that house. He was like, yeah, okay. He's determined to tell this heifer that she can move in. Like, it amazes me how people know that they lost you or are about to lose you. Like, you were literally, you're hanging by the last thread. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, it's about to be over, or it is over. Let me go and do what they want me to do so I can hang on to them. And this is what he is doing. And I'm just like, bruh, please go somewhere and sit down. But he basically trying to make it seem like he done drew his line in the sand and told Delilah that, yeah, you can have your conversation with the kids all you want, because she said she's going to have a long conversation with them about all this. But ain't no discussion to have, because those are his kids. While he was up there and the daughter came to him and wanted to speak to him for a little while, is because she wants to go and do something in Philadelphia as far as music is concerned, which would mean she would have to skip her senior year in high school and, you know, have everything sent there. And, yeah, y'all already know Delilah ain't really finna be here for that. He already was like, you know, it's cool with me, but, you know, your mama gonna have to, you know, have a say. And, you know, obviously, because she's the primary caregiver of you and all that. So I'm just like, Lord, it's just too much going on. I don't know about all this, but whatever. Y'all, okay, so early in the episode, Delilah's daddy got a phone call from his old partner. And so he was like, you know, I want to meet up with you to discuss some things. And he was like, yeah, I've been expecting your phone call. So he thought it was going to be just them talking on the phone. He was like, nah, I need to see you in person. And so some location that should bring up old memories for them, especially Delilah's daddy, was the location that the man wanted to meet in. And I'm like, why is we meeting at nighttime? Y'all doing the most. Either he finna get killed or somebody finna get killed. The most is going on. So anyway, he meet up with the old partner. He trying to ask him why we meeting here of all places. And anyway, he get down to the meat and potatoes of everything. And he is like, yeah, I heard that you ended up asking somebody in particular to go and be on this case. And it's a simple case and all this other stuff. And so he was like, yeah, you know, and he explained himself. And he was like, you know, it's a simple whatever. I heard that, you know, the items that were missing were the only items that Fred Osborne and them and Oscorp or whatever. Y'all, I'm probably getting the name of this corporation mixed up with a whole Batman show. But anyway, the corporation that are the ones who are supplying those defective radios or whatever. And he was like, look, the Osborne Corporation are going to be supplying body cams to the Charlotte Police Department for free. And so he was like, well, when is this supposed to go down? And he was like, well, they're going to do a press conference or whatever, a press release about it, some kind of statement tomorrow. And so he was like, oh, okay. And, you know, man, he just started walking off from old boy. He was like, look, I ain't got no issues or whatever. I'm just trying to make sure that things go the way they're supposed to go. He talking about some... As soon as this fool said, that daughter of yours, like he said something slick out of his mouth, because everybody know how Delilah get down. But I'm like, bruh, even though me and my child ain't on the best of terms, what you're not finna do is come out your mouth sideways about my child. I would have backhanded that man something terrible, and he didn't. He walked off, and he was like, see, stuff like this is what get people hurt. You know, I was just like, bruh, what kind of threat is going on here? Like, this is a whole threat. Like, you finna come up missing. In my mind, I would have turned around, even if I was walking away, I would have turned around and set it off then. Like, you already came out your mouth sideways about my child. Now you over here threatening me, talking about this is how people get hurt. Bruh, you doing the most. Y'all, so the most just happened. I went on ahead and finished it all. But yeah, so Delilah's daddy popped up at the job to talk to her. But before all of that happened, Delilah ended up meeting up with Mason again, inviting him over. So in his mind, he's like, okay, things must not be panning out with old boy. Because twice in 1 week, really? And so she was like, ain't got nothing to do with that. And so, of course, she invited him over to vent. He knows about her relationship with Tamara. And, you know, things have gone south. And he knows about their pact, which is if they have an argument and, you know, they haven't settled their differences, one person needs to call the other one by midnight. And so he was like, well, this is simple. All you got to do is call her. And so he was just like, he got so sick and tired of Delilah that he was like, you know what? I ain't got time for this. I ain't never seen a friendship like the one that y'all have. I wish I had a friendship like that. I'm about to call her. So she went all the way off of him, told him, don't call her, don't do it, whatever. Meanwhile, Tamara at the house, and her fiance is looking at her like, girl, go ahead and call her. And she was like, no, she's supposed to call me. I'm waiting. And I mean, she looking nervous. Like, she is studying the phone. Like, it's getting close to midnight, apparently. They both in the bed. He is sitting up with her, waiting for the phone call to happen. He didn't encourage her, and he didn't told her, she gonna call. You ain't got to worry about that. Eventually, Delilah does call. And so he was like, see, I told you. And then that's when he turned over and go to sleep. I'm like, this is too much. So anyway, they talking. And earlier in their conversation, when they did meet up for their lunch, she asked Tamara, did you talk to Wynn Sr. or did you talk to Fred? See, I keep getting all these people mixed up, but one of the big players in this scheme. And so she gonna lie to him, yeah, I talked to him. And Delilah knew she was lying. And so she questioned her about it a second time, which is what prompted Tamara to get up and leave. Because she was like, how dare you sit up here and question me twice about something? That means you don't trust me. So within the conversation that they had later on, when Delilah called her, she was like, I lied. I didn't talk to him. And so she was like, I know you lied. Now, why is it that you're trying to make it seem like this? Like, are you actually going to talk to Fred the next time you have a meeting or whatever? So she was like, yes, I am going to talk to him. I'm going to get down to the bottom of this. And so she was like, I do know that you do care about my brother, because she kind of read her and was like, apparently you don't care about my brother, because you already know that this had a deliberate hand in my brother being paralyzed right now. All this stuff happened because of these folks that you work for. And so, you know, she was like, you know, I care about your brother. You know, I love your brother. She was like, yeah, I know that. But I'm going to need for you to understand that the way that you're moving is making it seem like you are more concerned about yourself and making partner than actual human life. And so she tried to explain to her, like, your definition of life is completely different than what you try to make it seem. It's not that life doesn't matter. It's just, I have bills to pay. Like, I have to pay these bills. I got things going on in my life, whatever. Y'all, so Delilah's daddy, like I said, like the next day, Delilah was in the office trying to talk to Demetria to get down to the bottom of her beef. You know, well, not even her beef. It's just the fact that Harper has issues with Demetria. And she went in there and she was going to talk to her and was like, you know, how things going. And while she was trying to ease her way into the conversation, Harper came in and interrupted and said, your father's here. So she talking to her daddy and want to know what's going on. And this is when she learns that the force to set it off, because he like, look, most of the force is white. And the people, you know, Oz Corporation or whatever, I need to stop saying that because I feel like that's a Batman situation. But anyway, the folks who had the faulty radio, they are sending over the body armor for the police force for free. And I'm like, but try to act like you don't understand that the reason why they're doing this is to cover up all this stuff and to grease palms. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's come on now. So anyway, he was like, they watching my every move. You know, they're watching my every move, all this other stuff. So why they in the middle of talking? Because she's just like, why aren't you on my side? These people are the reason why your son was almost killed. They in the middle of talking, man. The police came up in there, issued a warrant for her arrest. He telling the folks to stand down because, you know, they respect him. And they was like, yeah, we can't We have an order. She got to go. They done put her in handcuffs and some more. Like, it's going down. Demetria done stood up and said, I'm her legal representation. Anyway, that was the episode. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this recap review of Delilah.